More than 1,500 people would die on Titanic, and many years later, people were still haunted by one strange question. If the lookouts had binoculars, would they have seen the iceberg sooner? Because on Titanic, there was supposed to be a cabinet containing binoculars for the watchmen. But before the voyage, a crew officer was suddenly reassigned, and when he left the ship, he accidentally took the key to the binocular cabinet with him. Nobody noticed because it was only a small key, small enough to disappear inside a coat pocket. But outside the ship was the North Atlantic, filled with drifting ice. And on the night of April 14th, 1912, hundreds of people began making very small decisions. A speed slightly too high, warnings ignored, a sea too calm, a missing pair of binoculars. And a few hours later, more than 1,500 human beings disappeared into black water. The ocean that night was around -2 degrees Celsius, cold enough for the human body to begin shutting down within minutes. Many passengers would die before rescue ships could ever reach them. But at that exact moment on Titanic, music was still playing. The sea never belonged to humans. The North Atlantic had been terrifying sailors long before Titanic existed. Fog could swallow entire ships. Icebergs moved through darkness without making sound. And the water was cold enough to kill a human being before rescue even saw them. For centuries, the Atlantic had consumed wooden ships, fishermen, sailors, entire crews. And in 1912, human civilization believed it had finally built something stronger than the sea: Titanic. Nearly 270 meters long, burning hundreds of tons of coal every day, carrying more than 2,200 people across the ocean. Many newspapers called it unsinkable. That was the moment humans began believing technology could eventually defeat every natural limit. But outside the ship, the North Atlantic remained exactly what it had always been: cold, silent, ancient, and completely indifferent to whatever floated above it. The floating future speed, inside Titanic, everything looked like the future. Electric lights glowing through the night, grand staircases resembling royal hotels, restaurants, luxury cabins, live music every evening. The richest people on Earth stepped aboard Titanic, feeling as though they were entering a new era. But below them, inside third class, families crowded into narrow cabins. Many carried photographs, small suitcases, letters from home. They were leaving Europe forever, hoping America would give them another life. Titanic carried all of them together: millionaires, immigrants, newlyweds, children, workers, and terrifyingly, none of them understood they were all traveling toward the same ending. Because somewhere far away, an iceberg had already broken away from Greenland months earlier, moving silently southward through the Atlantic darkness. Nobody saw it. Nobody knew its name. And Titanic was already sailing toward it. Warnings in the dark. For hours before the collision, Titanic received repeated warnings about sea ice. Other ships reported dangerous ice fields, drifting icebergs, frozen water directly ahead. Some captains even warned the region was nearly packed with ice. But Titanic continued moving at near full speed because nobody wanted the most famous ship on Earth to arrive late, and because many people truly believed Titanic was powerful enough to survive almost anything. That is the strange thing about human beings. We often feel safest right before everything begins collapsing. The missing key. Inside Titanic, there was a locked cabinet holding binoculars for the lookouts. But before departure, Second Officer David Blair was suddenly removed from the voyage, and when he left the ship, he unknowingly carried away the cabinet key. Nobody realized it mattered. It was only a small object, small enough to forget inside a pocket. So on the night Titanic entered the ice field, the lookouts had no binoculars, only human eyes staring into darkness against the entire North Atlantic. Years later, many people became obsessed with the same question. If the lookouts had binoculars, would Titanic have survived? Nobody could answer. But that is what makes Titanic terrifying. It was not destroyed by one giant mistake. It was destroyed by many tiny details, all failing together during the same night. The ocean was too calm. April 14th, 1912. The Atlantic became strangely calm. No strong wind, no large waves. The sea looked like black glass. Normally, waves break against icebergs, allowing sailors to spot them from far away. But that night, there was nothing. The iceberg blended almost perfectly into darkness. High above the ship, two lookouts stared into blackness. No moonlight, no binoculars, only their eyes, searching for danger inside endless night. Then suddenly, one of them saw something ahead. A dark shape, larger than the darkness around it. He grabbed the telephone. "Iceberg, right ahead." The knife under the water. Titanic did not crash into the iceberg like an explosion. It was quieter than that, almost gentle, like a giant blade sliding beneath the waterline, slowly tearing open the hull. A wound long enough to kill the ship, but not instantly and terrifyingly. Most passengers barely felt anything at all. No massive impact, no immediate panic. Only a slight vibration running through the floors. One passenger even joked, "Perhaps we just ran over some ice." That was the terrifying part. Titanic had already begun dying, while most people still believed everything was perfectly normal. Deep below the ship, engineers saw seawater flooding through multiple compartments and quietly realized something horrifying. Titanic was going to sink, and there was absolutely no way to stop it. "2 hours to die." Titanic did not disappear immediately. It took more than 2 hours to die, long enough for music to continue playing. long enough for many passengers to believe everything would still be fine. Long enough for hundreds of people to miss their final chance to leave the ship. Inside Titanic's bakery, one baker continued preparing bread for breakfast the next morning. He heard strange vibrations beneath the floor, then simply kept working. Inside the smoking lounge, men continued playing cards. The orchestra continued performing music on deck. Women adjusted coats before stepping into lifeboats. Everyone kept trying to behave politely, as if civilization itself could somehow prevent the ocean from entering the ship. There were not enough lifeboats. Titanic did not carry enough lifeboats for all passengers on board because maritime laws were outdated and because many people still believed the ship could never fully sink. The first lifeboats lowered into the ocean were not even half full. Many passengers refused boarding. They feared small lifeboats in the freezing Atlantic more than Titanic itself. Meanwhile, water continued rising from below. Inside third class, families began panicking. Some could not understand English instructions. Some became trapped inside endless hallways. Titanic tilted further into darkness, and for the first time, people began understanding the truth. The ship itself was dying. The baker who stayed. While many passengers became desperate, the ship's baker continued helping women and children into lifeboats. Afterward, he returned to the deck and threw wooden chairs into the ocean so people freezing in the water would have something to hold on to. Hours later, as Titanic nearly stood upright, he was still there. One ordinary human being, standing on the deck of something once called unsinkable. Around him, modern civilization itself was sliding beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The water was -2 degrees. 2:20 in the morning, Titanic disappeared beneath the ocean. For several seconds, everything became silent. Then the screaming began, thousands of voices echoing across black water. The ocean temperature that night was around -2 degrees Celsius. Cold enough for the human body to lose movement within minutes. Many passengers did not die from drowning. They died from the cold before rescue could ever arrive. Some lifeboats refused returning to the water because survivors feared desperate crowds would overturn them. People who survived Titanic later said the most horrifying moment was not watching the ship disappear. It was hearing the screams grow quieter, one voice at a time, until eventually the North Atlantic became silent again. Titanic did not sink because of a single iceberg. It sank because hundreds of people believed the worst thing possible would never happen. A missing key, warnings ignored, a sea too calm, a ship moving too fast, and thousands of passengers believing they were aboard the safest thing humanity had ever built.